This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
It's the Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast.
We're old school, right? We wash our own dirty laundry.
The name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back.
I refuse to be judged by a grown man wearing a hockey jersey.
Game on! Game on!
We are back with another episode of the Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast. Wade Hampton, DocNoyes, and joining us last minute, thank you, by the way, Tom Frost, Frosty from Boston. Since we did the special episode on Tuesday with the Blues release and really breaking that down, we figured we'd bring the resident expert, you know, we've talked about that word, but the man who would know most about the history, I think, of the Boston jerseys and wanted to get your thoughts, kind of break them down a little bit. Before we get to that, the drink of this evening, little Basil Hayden's for my old-fashioned, always a good go-to. Next week, I'll be breaking out some special stuff internationally for the show, so that will be fun. So cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Wade with his Dr. Pepper. I actually thought of you today at a work meeting. Somebody had the mini cans of Dr. Pepper there. I'm like, to you, that's just a quick shot and out.
Yeah. I need to start slowing down with Dr. Pepper. Yeah, I think I'm gonna start slowing down. I might start dropping some water on you guys every once in a while.
You just put it in a Dr. Pepper bottle. We might not notice.
Yeah, nobody will know.
And as always, Mitch with the Drink Your Face Off line of barware and clothing. Reach out to Mitch for any of your fall needs. I know it is only the end of June, but you will be thinking about hoodies and that soon enough. From the auction front, the only thing that was out there I just want to give an update on because we mentioned it and we're tracking it before is the 2025 Stanley Cup presentation carpet is now up to $3,600. Ends on July the 1st, so next Tuesday. Other than that, the sticks that we mentioned before on NHL auctions, MyGray currently doesn't have anything. The Oilers' next set should be coming to NHL auctions sometime soon, but we don't have any exact dates. Speaking of MyGray, that is just around the corner. We do want to mention that the 20th annual MyGray Expo. Wade will be going to that as well. So we will have some special things, some light swag to hand out there, thanks to Wade's expertise and assistance on it from Matt as well. So that will be fun. But that is Saturday, July the 12th, from 9 to 4. If you go to MyGray site, you can get all the details. The cool thing that they dropped today, and make sure you go check out their social media for the video, but they are going to do some racks of $200 and $500 jerseys. And as they mentioned in the video, guys that are 40-plus goal scorers, 1,000-plus games. I can't wait to hear what some of the stuff is found in those racks. I know you're going to be the eyes on the ground there, so I cannot wait to
taking a bigger
hear
bag.
about that.
Yeah, I'm going to take a bigger bag.
Or two.
No, I'm excited. I am excited to meet people. So, like, if you listen to the show, come chat with me. I'd love to, like I said, we're going to have some fun stuff to kind of give to people. And I always love to catch up with people. So if I don't know you, don't be shy. If you haven't figured out, I'm not really shy. So,
gee, you think?
So no, but please come say hi. And looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to. Everybody keeps telling me that the warehouse is going to be mind blowing. So I'm really geared up. I can't wait to make it. I don't know if we mentioned on the show that I did fix all my travel stuff because I did book everything for the wrong week. So I had to rebook all my flights and car and stuff, but really ready to go. I'm as it's getting closer, I work a lot and I put a lot of hours into stuff and taking a couple days and heading up that way. I am pretty fired up.
I'm sure it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And Frosty, you even get to do something cool that same weekend. You got to miss the MyGray stuff. So tell everybody what you get to do.
Well, yeah. So it's not hockey related. Well, I guess it is hockey related in the sense that I'll be doing an on-field experience with the Red Sox on that Friday night, and it's hockey related only in the sense that the Boston Red Sox own the Pittsburgh Penguins and sponsored a goalie game that I played in back in March. And during that game, they had some charity auction items, and one of the items was Red Sox tickets in Pittsburgh. I didn't have a lot of competition bidding on that auction. So
yeah, people are probably heavy spenders for that there.
No, so looking forward to that. It's going to be a fun day. My wife and I will enjoy that, but it does mean, unfortunately, I'll miss heading down to the Migrate. I was looking forward to that as well.
But hey, you enjoy that. Can't wait to hear about experiences like that. Are always cool when you just get to be in different spots and check those things out. A couple quick side note things, and if any trades or things come off during the show, I know you guys will hear it the next morning, but I will mention those. Couple things that are collector kind of related, having to do with CBA changes that are coming down after this season. No more e-bugs.
Yeah.
It's official. It is in will be in the new CBA. It's the kind of deal where they're going to pay. I haven't seen the exact numbers or things like that. I think they still have to hash some of that out, but there will be no more e-bugs. There will be an actual goalie employed by the team as the backup. So kind of sad.
So what you're saying is
stories.
there's a chance?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. I wonder if they'll do an application process or if it's former veterans that they bring in there. But
that's my thought too. Is like, I mean, here, like, just thinking about St. Louis. Brian Elliott lives in St. Louis now, right? I mean, there's a couple other retired goalie types. Mike McKenna lives in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a guy like that, or is it a local college kid that plays at Lindenwood University or at one of the other colleges, McKendree or somewhere, that gets that gig? It'll be interesting to see what every city does with that. Also, it'll be interesting if a guy's employed by the team, if suddenly that guy is kind of like a bullpen catcher and he's at the practices and all that stuff full time.
That's kind of how I read it. The finer details I think will come out in the next couple of days, but that's kind of how I understood it. What was at least broken down through Twitter and that, and I think it's kind of it's sad, but it's cool because you get to see the story like Ayers and others. But I understand some teams would prefer to have, especially if you get an injury early in a game or something where you've got to, or actually two injuries, you've got to do that. Then you know exactly what you're getting.
Well, it will also change if you have an injured goalie. The call-up situation is going to change substantially because here, if you got a guy who is pretty good as your new e-bug, you don't make that call to your AHL kid to come up. You just say, hey, we're going to run with our regular guy, and if something happens, we can always pull the e-bug.
And I wonder if they'll allow them to do that though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be interesting to see how that breaks down.
Yeah, and we'll maybe talk about that more once they put the full rules for that particular thing.
I can't wait to see Frosty in net for the Bruins.
I'm waiting. I'm never going to let go of that dream till I'm 6 feet under. I'm telling you.
Hey, I got this past year. I got to play in a game before a Blues game on ice in net, and it was just cool standing in there realizing how big that place is. Yeah. I couldn't imagine getting a call up and doing it that way. But yeah, the dreams will never die, Frosty.
Never.
So when was your guys officially announced? The Blues had teases, late last week, Wade? Wednesday, Thursday last week they started
first
teasing
one late last week, and then it was Tuesday for the drop. I think Boston's was Wednesday you guys released it, Frost?
Yeah, like you were mentioning, people were talking about it a little bit in advance. But yeah, Wednesday. Yeah, just yesterday, right? So they had kind of a major announcement. They had the little video with Charlie McAvoy, Michael J. Fox, and Cam Neely, which is kind of neat.
I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it
was well done.
I saw when that was released and went and watched it, and Michael J. Fox, we were talking off the air, is a lifelong friend of Cam Neely. Michael J. Fox has also been a lifelong hockey fan and hockey player. And it was just great. McAvoy's makeup was a little, I don't know. I mean, almost a little creepy.
It was creepy.
I was hoping when he came through the door, he'd have been dressed more like Doc, coming from the future and that way.
It almost seemed like it was intended to be like terrible.
Yeah. But still, I mean, other than the makeup, I hope they do a behind the scenes video of that because I'd love to see that process. But really, really well done.
They did have released some photos of McAvoy getting the makeup done. I
I'll
didn't
have to
see
get
it as
into
a
their
video
media.
clip, but I did see photos.
But I'm glad they went outside the box and did some kind of cool things like that, just something different. So let's talk about this a little bit now. Tom, do you want to kind of break this stuff down, or do you just want to comment as I mentioned stuff through the Bruins page?
Yeah, so I mean, however works best. I mean,
You
we're
probably know a
looking
lot
at
more about it than I do, other than what I've read yesterday and today.
going back to a simpler version of the logo that we used to see back in the 80s. Kind of getting rid of the three-color logo and going back to a two-color logo. It will be the fourth different jersey that we've had in 4 straight seasons for the Bruins. Although the 2022, the 22-23, and the 24-25 sweaters were very similar. Obviously, you've got the 100th anniversary sweaters in the middle of that, but just quite a bit of change over 4 years.
Yeah, it's funny as you go through the Boston Bruins page, they have a good breakdown of from their history, and I feel bad. I didn't realize how far they actually went back. I mean, that was insane to look at those early, as I scroll through here, 1924-25, and just see how much some of that's the 1 year where it's just giant numbers on the front, I thought was kind of interesting. And then you get into the Pooh Bear in the mid 2000s, and you're right. You guys, compared to the Blues, I mean, it's night and day. The number, the volume of jerseys you've gone through.
Yeah, for a simple letter B, you'd be surprised at how many different versions they could come up with.
Right, between that and that bear, I mean, but that bear's classic.
Now I gotta ask. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Does it hurt your feelings that Marchand is the guy in the picture?
No, he was the captain for that game. He deserves to be represented there.
Well, so, and I will go back to the side thing with watching the trades and other stuff. There is talk on the table that Marchand has 4 different contract offers, including one with Boston again.
Yeah.
So he may end up back in the New Jerseys.
I'd be shocked to see him come back to Boston unless his stance on what he was looking for has changed drastically, right? I think he was looking for north of $7 million per season. Yeah. And at his age, I can't see the Bruins spending that kind of money on him. But I guess we'll find out.
Hey, Doc, could you scroll it a little bit more so we can see the jersey kind of full?
Yeah. Sorry.
Nope, I just want to make sure we can see it all.
Yeah, so you don't have the beer head logos on the shoulders, little bit different. It's the kind of that 1924-25 bear shape. But they're the classic look.
I mean, for like you said, for as simple of a design as it is, they have continued to let it evolve, which I really like. And here the switching the shoulder logos, I think, is another great testament to what they're doing. I think it continues to let the jersey be fresh. And here at the end of the day, for sales and marketing, I mean, what's better than fresh new stuff that people have to buy?
Exactly.
And this we were, I think, talking a little bit way before you got on. Is this will be the first time since 20? What year did they say that? Since 1995. Where the logo's the same both home and road.
Really? Now, so it looks bigger. Does it look bigger to you guys, the circle, the circumference?
It does just looking at the photos of Pasternak and McAvoy, it does look like it's a little larger.
Yeah, they call it a revitalized crest, and I think it is a tad bigger, especially as close as that it is to the A.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely full sweater. It's definitely. I mean, it looks good. I've always. I mean, you look behind me. I've got some. I mean, I've always really loved the Boston jerseys. I'm not a Boston guy. I absolutely hate the Red Sox, but in the same sense, like your guys' hockey jersey is pretty great.
So some of the details that Boston lists out here is, besides the crest, they feature new secondary artwork on the shoulder, new striping on the sweater and the socks, gold detailing on the gloves, and the club's word mark introduced during the 24-25 season on the pants. You saw the Blues do that as well with that note treble clef or what do you exactly want to call it, but they threw that on the pants.
Were your guys? Oh, were the gloves white before, not the gold? Is that correct?
The black and white. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that's what I meant. Was the fixtures were white, not the gold. So.
Yep.
The crawling bear on the shoulder goes back to the first year of the Bruins in 1924. Reintroduced that when they got into the Centennial. Thickness of the striping on the 25-26 kit is slightly altered, harkening back to the Bruins of the 80s and 90s area. Yeah, looking at that does seem much wider, especially on the yellow, that wider striping.
Yeah, they went pretty narrow. Probably the last 8 or 9 years, they've had very narrow striping on the jerseys.
And then the other little tweak, which I was surprised, Wade, that the Blues didn't do something with, is the hem loop, the little label that's on the hem for the Boston will be on the home sweaters and Bruins will be on the road. I'm glad teams are using that tag for stuff. I know we talked about it with the outdoor game for the Red Wings where they put the octopus on it.
Yeah.
I'm glad the teams are playing with those little things.
Yeah, the Blues didn't mention anything, but who knows what? I mean, I haven't heard anything, so maybe they have something that'll be a surprise too.
That could be.
Do you have the white jersey? Is there a picture? Did they release?
They don't. They only put. They only have the home.
Yeah.
Well, at least in the stuff that I've seen so far. I'll see if I can find something else in here.
The photos that I saw that were released actually have like the 70s, 80s home crest, which was not the yellow B, it's the black B.
Okay.
So those are the ones I've seen. But based on what you said earlier about them using the exact same colored crest, maybe they don't have some samples of that are actual yet.
Now, are they going to do a third, or are they going to go straight home and away this year?
They haven't said anything about a third jersey. So they did not have a third jersey this year if you don't factor in that 100th game, which was a special jersey. But they didn't have a typical third jersey all year.
Yeah. Interesting.
Let me see if I get here. UniWatch has a little bit more pictures and breakdowns on a few things. So let's see if I can share that. Gives you a few more pictures of that. But I mean, overall, I think again, it's interesting as I read through kind of the reasons behind they did it and what they did. It sounded very similar to St. Louis. Is they wanted to go a little bit back, show some love to the old stuff, but tweak to a modern. And that seems kind of what Boston did too. And I wonder if there's, as we go forward, if there'll be more teams or they're kind of a push to try and get some teams to do that.
Well, I think it's like we were talking about earlier, right? That these teams, they like to mix things up and change things up because it just turns into more sales.
Right, for sure.
And, that's the bottom line. It's all about being able to sell jerseys in the pro shop.
And there's a white that looks like more of a, I don't want to say AI representation, but it's not on somebody. Shoulder yokes completely gone, while the waist and sleeve striping have been made larger. Stripes match on both home and road for the first time.
So the stripes match, but you'll see that the logo is not that yellow B, it's the black B, which is probably that would make more sense on the white jersey.
And UniWatch says, like we just talked about, there's no alternate jersey, or at least one that was revealed yesterday. And see, I don't know if you had seen our podcast or seen the notes, Tom, for St. Louis. They moved their current home jersey to be their third, which was kind of an interesting idea. Here's the new shoulder patches.
Yep.
And I forgot that they called the one bear the meth bear. I completely forgot that was the term
shoulder,
for you guys.
Yeah, yes. the bear head shoulder patch. Yeah, the crack bear.
Yes. And I do. I think it looks really sharp with I like the Bruins on the pants. It just really, really brings stuff together all the way around.
Yeah, to me, it looks, you can definitely see the crest is larger in this photo than what we normally would have. And it has some of that classic look that we saw in kind of the Centennial sweaters without all the gold. Right.
So do you think they will and here's some shots of the back too. Looks like, and again, has Boston always been, we talked about this and I didn't get a chance to really research too much more. Always been a two-layer number, the yellow and the white like that, or a version thereof.
Yes. Yeah.
A side note to that, when I mentioned during the Blues one on Tuesday, our friend of the show, Nikki Lau, reached out and said Vancouver's pretty much always been the single layer number. So that's another team that I don't think we thought about at the time, Wade, when we were trying to think of some of the teams that did that.
Yeah.
But Nikki sent me a message and said he was loving the show, but wanted to point that in our direction.
Yeah, we kind of I got rushed on that whenever that happened. I was kind of like trying to figure out ones and remember.
Hard to keep track of 32 teams.
It is. It's hard to get all the different changes in years and stuff. I mean, I think at the end of the day, again, I just don't understand the one color, but I mean, that's something that's easily changeable. So
Yep. Hey, may change the second year. And I love one of the last sentences here, and this again from uniwatch.com. After the Blues redesign earlier this week, I don't think I'm the only one itching for a 2019 Stanley Cup Finals rematch for purely aesthetic reasons. I'd be okay with that. I know Wade would. Frosty,
as long as the result is different, I'm good.
Well, we'll have to talk about that.
I still have to go to therapy for Game 7.
So
I stopped going to therapy after Game 7.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess it worked out for one of us.
Yeah, between 6 and 7, you definitely took it. So do you think these, I mean, the market there pretty well. Do you think these, once they come out as gamers, that they'll go nuts fairly quickly?
I don't see the fans going nuts over these, not compared to like the 100th, versions. Especially if somebody just bought either one of the 100th versions or one of the jerseys from last year. But you'll see the pro shop selling them, the off the rack sweaters probably, but seeing the gamers going for big money just because of the jersey change, I don't think it's going to happen. We've seen quite a few of the Centennial jerseys still on the racks in the Bruins Authentics shop. They're still priced much higher than they probably should have been a couple of years ago. Bruins are now using the auction format, and some of the prices in the last auction, we're seeing guys going for $500, $600.
Can I ask? I'm trying to jump in on this real quick. We're seeing the same thing with the Blues. Do you think it's because people got what they needed? If that makes any sense, like
it makes a lot of sense. People, it's having disposable income, right? This is not a cheap hobby to get into in the first place. And if you've already got a David Pastrnak home Bruins jersey from last year, do you need to spend $7,000 to get another one from this year? So that's the problem, right? People aren't going to be spending crazy amounts of money.
And the team, and no offense, the team wasn't as successful this year, and I think that plays a huge part in this stuff. And people don't
absolutely, yeah, absolutely, Wade. Because if you look at the Bruins, they really only had one star this year, David Pastrnak. That was it.
Yeah,
Swayman had a very off year.
Mm-hmm.
Marchand, despite being a captain, really didn't play all that great for the Bruins and was injured quite a bit. So who's going to draw all the money? Now, Swayman jerseys, despite his poor performance, are still going for $2,000 somewhere in auction. But like the Korpisalo's, his backup, I was able to get one of those for $600. So
wow,
they've definitely come way down.
Some of your favorites are gone. Charlie was hurt. You guys get rid of the St. Louis boy, Trent Frederick, who was always popular. I think he was always really popular with you guys, and I think you're right, and you see that with our team as well. In this last playoff set or just a couple games, they actually went really, really cheap. A couple of people reached out to me and said, "Hey, why did you jump on these?" And I said, "I don't really do a lot with the playoff jerseys because I know they're only a couple games, and I hate to say it, I went heavy at the start of the year, and like you said, disposable income being sensible for other things. I'm going to migrate in a couple weeks. I didn't need a bunch of third or fourth line extra Blues jerseys laying around
You have plenty of those already.
here.
reverse that question to you guys.
Come on over,
So, same question back at you guys. If you had bought player ABC for last year for the Blues, is this new version going to make you go out and buy that same guy's sweater for next year?
Yeah, I think that because ours is so drastically different, and because ours happens so infrequently, I think that's another reason it probably won't be as big of a deal in Boston. Is you looked at that timeline, they've had a number of changes over the last 10 or 15 years, whereas for us Blues fans, that home and away jersey has been pretty standard fare going all the way back to Reebok jerseys, right? So besides changing manufacturer, you can take that jersey back, 15, 18 years to the Reebok.
Because when they switched from the one edge style where it was the down stripes, once they went to straight.
Jersey sense. Yeah. So, I mean, for us, I think that one, there's an uptick in young stars on our team, which always seems to make the jerseys go up. And then I think two, it's such a drastic change for us. I think those set one jerseys are going to be absolutely stupid. And it's like, I think they're going to be scary stupid.
Yeah. And I mean, us as collectors always want to get a set of what the new styles are. I mean, even like when some people will probably smack me for this, is once the Blues added the advertising patch, like, all right, I got to get one with that and have that style and things like that. I don't have to go necessarily for a top line player. I just want the jersey in that particular style. And Wade, you actually posted about it earlier on your social media with you picking up one of the Heritage jerseys from this past year. Those will become highly collectible because it was the only year they wore that style, the only year in Fanatics of that style, and the players kept a lot. There's been some issued ones out there, but only a handful of game jerseys.
I don't know. I don't want to rub that in anybody's face. That's the reason I grabbed that jersey today, was because I did a little bit of research. I realized that one was worn. Besides the three that were sold in the two auctions ago, there was only one other one that was sold earlier in the year, and that was the Joseph, who was traded, and he had worn his in one or two games. So there was those four plus the Prunovich. So there's only 5 of those jerseys that will be made available to anybody who's a collector. So unless you're one of the 5 people that own them, that jersey is a one and done, right?
Yeah,
they're not
and they're gorgeous.
I hate to say that I own 3 of them. So
good for you.
so 3 of the worn ones that are out there. So unless you're one of the players, me or one of the other 2 guys that got one, that's going to be a pretty rare jersey.
And Frosty, going back out to the Boston ProShop.com, which is where all the gamers and the equipment and stuff is, I sorted the list by price and went down to the bottom. They do show a couple Centennial game worn still out there. Trent Fredericks from the warm-up and first period, they want $2,500 for. Andrew Peaky at $2,000. But even there, if you go down to the cheapest, their cheapest are not cheap.
No, and some of those are just game issued.
Yeah, it surprises me at the level, because if you go, again, comparing the Blues to Boston, just because I've got them both in front of me, the Blues have a bunch of game issued, including Heritage jerseys, out there, and they're $350.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Frosty, I do have a question again. Sorry, I like to ask questions whenever we get.
No, it's all good. That's why we're here.
So is there anyone a connection to you at the Boston camp that, like let's throw out there the Trent Frederick that's out there for $2,500? If it's out there for a long time, are there people there or connections there that you can reach out and say, hey, I'm interested in this jersey. Are you guys going to discount it? Or hey, can I buy it at a discount? Or is it pretty much whatever it's out there for, and we don't communicate?
I've had several conversations with them about trying to make offers for things that haven't gone anywhere.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean that they won't change over time.
Yeah.
And maybe if you're able to catch them on a game night and have a a conversation with your money in hand, maybe something would change. But I haven't had any luck with that so far, and it's been kind of very standoffish in terms of trying to build relationships with them. Where, you know, very contrary to Migrate. I had a long-standing relationship with them, and was able to do business with them for a long time. And to your point, if there was something you wanted to make an offer on, they would at least listen to you and acknowledge it, and most of the time work with you.
Sure.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet from the Bruins.
That's sad. That's shame on them for. Hopefully, they come to terms with the fact that, and I think some of these teams have started to come to terms with the fact that, and the Migrate lesson. You have to work with your collectors and your buyers to make it successful. Beyond having the stuff, you also have to make it relationship based at some level. So hopefully they come to the table for you guys in the future.
And just from a business sense, inventory sitting isn't doing you any good. Now, is my memory correct? This is the second full year of Boston's program.
That's correct. And I was going to say they were really spoiled the first year, right? They had the 100th anniversary jerseys, which anybody could have sold those out of the back of their car for the most part, right? Everybody wanted them. And so they were very spoiled, and they could charge what they wanted because they knew they were going to get the money. Now they don't have that same 100th glitz all around them, and the team isn't all that good right now. So they've got some uphill battles, I think, long term, if they're going to try to keep the prices at what they've had them at, and keep their lack of wanting to work with anybody and build relationships. And think they're going to be successful.
I mean, just looking through the $600 ones, because that's the cheapest. You have multiple Brazos out here at $600. What? And again, I don't know what quality player he is, if he even hardly plays at all. What should that, in your opinion, what should that price be?
I mean, so Brazo was a fourth liner. He was shipped off to Minnesota at the trade deadline. So he's not even a team player in the team anymore. But you know what? For a fourth liner that gets some action, I can't argue with $600 because I'm used to seeing all these other crazy prices.
You're used to seeing much higher. Where we're at $300 to $450 a lot of times for the fourth line guys, and more that they get more time here and they seem to become popular for the fans.
Yeah. I mean, that pricing seems to make a lot more sense, Doc, than what we're seeing from Boston. But I'm conditioned to that. I think my gray used to probably be in that same range for a fourth liner. I think,
and maybe the market, I guess the market of where the team is dictates some of that a little bit, and
could be.
But it'll be interesting to see how long those kind of things sit out there if they then decide to move some of those things. I mean, look at their site is definitely loaded up with things. Some of their stuff isn't crazy expensive. Their goalie pads are $1,200, which aren't awful.
All right, except they're not NHLUs. If you're looking at the Bussy pads, right?
Korpisalo.
Oh, so they've got Korpisalo pads.
Two pairs of his there.
Yeah, they had Brendan Bussy pads there for a bit of money too, and that was just from preseason. So yeah, I mean, $1,200 for a pair of NHL used game goalie pads is not absurd.
Pasta's got a lot of gloves, by the way. Jeez, there's just as I've scrolled down and kind of look at stuff. There's 6 pairs of gloves at $800 each. Ooh. That ought to tell you a lot about you've got those priced too high.
Incorrectly. Yeah.
But he's our only star.
Yeah.
Well, are you trying to pay his salary with all the gloves you're selling? I mean,
well, I've been told that all the money they make on the Bruins Authentics just goes back to buying new jerseys and equipment for the team.
Okay, I mean, if that's how theirs is set up, great. I mean, and scrolling through, I see other players' gloves at $150, which honestly, if you just want Boston gloves or something, aren't out of line. Skates at $500. I mean, depending on the player, can kind of go either way. Socks though at $75. Come on.
Yeah, I love goalie masks.
Yes. You know what? Yeah, those are always going to be expensive.
Yeah. That's
$50
crazy.
to $100 for player socks. Come on. I mean,
Somebody's
that's a
not
tough
in
one.
touch with what the real market is. We say it all the time. I mean, I think those guys all do a great job, and I think there's a lot of them that are dedicated to learning. But then there's sometimes when you see stuff on other teams or around the league, and you're like, "What are you looking at? Like, who priced this stuff?
Yeah.
so
Like, do you guys want to keep all the socks? Is that the goal?
right.
All the socks."
So with 2 full years, 2 seasons complete with Boston in this program, at this point, and we had you on just as it was starting or just before it was starting, the whole thing. Now that you've been through it 2 years and bought stuff and worked at their auctions and other stuff, kind of where would you rate them and what would you like to see changed?
Well, I think now that they've moved to the auction model, people are setting the prices. They're not, right? Except what you're seeing on the site is stuff that didn't sell in the auction. So you think that stuff would probably be cheaper. But where they're selling everything by auction now, it only takes one or two people, and price for some of these things go up. But the stuff seems to be more reasonably priced now than when they first started. Granted that the team isn't playing as well, and you're not looking at the 100th year again. So I think they're doing okay. But I mean, you just highlighted some of the concerns would be, some of the pricing where they are setting prices. Not everything's auction. Some of those prices are a little crazy still, and not being able to build any kind of relationship has been kind of been standoffish. For example, you never know if you're going to get the email telling you that there's a drop coming, because not everybody seems to be getting these emails. It's like,
Oh, geez.
you get on the Bruins page and people like, you guys jumping on at 10 a.m. tomorrow? And people will be like, what? So for whatever reason, that there seems to be a breakdown in communications because not everybody's getting the same messaging of when things are becoming available.
Oh,
Yeah, that would drive me nuts if I was waiting for a certain jersey or things and then found out, yeah, that sale was yesterday, or you're seeing people post, oh, what'd you buy? The hell are you talking about?
lose my mind.
Yeah. We've been fortunate in that at least we've got the Bruins Facebook page, which is great, and we share all that information freely. So oftentimes, we'll have somebody will say, "Who's jumping on at 10 tomorrow?" And people will be, "What?" But by the end of the day, everyone's kind of on par with what's going on. But it's strange to me that if they're going to send out a communication like that, that they wouldn't just send it to everybody who's bought something. I'm not sure how they're
Scheduling it, yeah. It's
Yeah,
weird.
how they're
or like in the
scheduling it,
case
how
of the
they're
Blues.
selecting.
Right. In the case of the Blues, you for the Give Smart auctions, you register your phone number and stuff, and when there's an auction coming soon or that day or whatever, you get a text. Then with their store side, same thing, is you get an email. It usually is about 15 minutes after the drop, by the way, if you've timed the emails. But every Friday, the Blues at 10 a.m. do a drop to their Rinkside Reserve regular page. The email says what the things are, so sometimes it makes it easier to find, but it usually takes about 15 minutes after it opens to process to get the email. And then they also sometimes say, hey, make sure you join us next week. But you always know there's going to be some kind of drop unless they say otherwise every Friday at 10.
Yeah, that's nice.
And it can be pucks. Last week it was the new stock of the one season, I guess, of the Fanatics practice jerseys. Drop those out there. But there's always those things. You've always got good communication. But it sounds like Boston may need to find a different email system or whatever, or make it easy for you guys to get those notifications.
Yeah, it just needs to be consistent, right? So that it's fair for everybody. If that's their reasoning for not wanting to be able to make deals or build relationships kind of behind the scenes, which we've been able to do before, then they at least have to make sure they're consistent so that everybody has equal access to everything. I don't feel like they're deliberately trying to hide it. I just feel like there's got to be some reason that if all three of us have purchased something from them before, that all three of us don't get the email telling us that there's a sale starting tomorrow.
It sounds like they probably have some email. Different people have different email list, like blocks. and they're probably grabbing the wrong one at some point. I mean, who knows? But
Yeah, I don't know how that's working.
You'd want them to be consistent with that for sure.
But the other side of it is, and everybody needs to understand that, especially in the collecting community, everybody talks.
Yeah. For
so,
sure.
I mean, Frosty, just like you with Boston or us with St. Louis, we know we have friends outside the market that may want a particular player, or, ooh, I like that style. I'm not a Blues person. How do I get those notifications for auction? Or like you said, in the Boston group, in the Blues group, in the other teams' groups, they're always sharing, hey, this auction's coming up, or the team's going to drop this stuff on this site. People are good at sharing that. And if the marketing / sales people for Boston or whatever other teams do it this way don't understand that, then maybe they shouldn't be in marketing at all.
Or at least they need to have a system that works a little bit better than what they have.
That would help. Yeah. Technology's not that hard for that anymore. I mean, you've heard us talk about when the Blues did fax auctions. That was much more difficult. Now it's very easy.
Imagine if they brought that back.
God. Please no.
You remember the auction attempt they had last year with the
oh God,
that was a disaster. They had to scrap it in the middle. So at least they've fixed that problem. That's good news.
Yeah, that's positive. That's positive.
And notice, again, I don't ever like burning bridges or anything else, because again, this is a really a tight market. Is when that was all launching initially, and I reached out to the person that was kind of in charge of it. Got an email. Yeah, I'd love to talk to you late in the year, and I've tried several times and never heard a word from him again. So that may be just the stress of what's going on, or decided it's best not to talk.
He didn't say late in what year. He was probably like 2029.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I do have a question. Another question, Tom. What would you like to see as the third jersey moving forward? I mean, you guys have had some great ones over the last number of years. Is there one favorite or one you'd like to see them do something interesting with to make an interesting third, whether or not be a heritage related or something fun like a Pooh Bear, or like, what's your dream third jersey?
Well, what's interesting is what would have been nice is them to kind of poll their fans for what they were going to do with this major release instead of a third jersey. Because I think if you go back to 2004, they had the heritage jerseys, which was kind of a flashback to the early 70s with, the gold shoulders. And I think that's most people, that's like their favorite jersey if you talk to the Bruins fans. 73, 74 with the bear on the shoulder patch is like everybody's favorite. But they didn't ask, right? So and that's fine. For me, that third jersey, I would have told you that heritage look, because I really love it, but that's pretty close to this, minus the shoulders. I like the white Pooh Bear. I thought that was pretty well done. Didn't receive a lot of well wishes, but I like them.
I am personally a huge fan of your guys' Pooh Bear jerseys. Like, it's one of my favorite things. It always has been. When they first got released, I've always been. That's a jersey that I've always just really been enamored with. So
the white ones were so sharp,
with
really nice,
with the like jagged bottom. Yeah. Those were pretty awesome.
They did a good job with those.
That was my question.
Anything crazy you wish the Bruins would do with a jersey? Like just something completely out of left field.
No, I'm not a fan of some of the radical stuff that some of the teams have done. We had that conversation earlier. It's been around for 100 years, but they've always kept it somewhat subdued and somewhat simple, and I think that's what kind of makes it nice.
Yeah.
Now, see, it would be interesting to see if they would go back to this one. This is from the Bruins, the history of all their jerseys. I kind of think this would be an interesting style just to see what people think of it. But the numbers are on the chest and the B's on the arms.
Mm-hmm.
Would you go for something like this?
No. No. That's called a football jersey, Doc. That's not a hockey jersey anymore.
Oh, that's great.
It would definitely be out there. I bet it would become collectible because you'd only see him wear them 1 year or a handful of games.
Well, it wasn't that long ago. Dallas had the Dallas and their numbers on the front, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago.
Oh, yeah.
And thought they were sharp, and then Tampa had the small number up on the
Shoulder.
chest.
Yeah.
But I thought that one was kind of interesting. So maybe just even if they did like a couple game throwback or something where they did those, you definitely know who the player was.
Yeah, this is true.
Wouldn't care what team they're on, but no, I think yours. It's a very classic look, like you said. You guys have gone through a lot more jerseys in a short time that we have, but it is sometimes nice to just go back to kind of call it the basics with them doing the wheeled B on both home and road. I think it's going to look nice when they travel in that. I still wish, and it's not in this, of course, I don't know if it really has to be in the CBA, but I would love to see them do the swap like the minor leagues do with swapping home and roads halfway through.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't do that. I agree with you 100%.
I mean, you could still stick with your thirds and that stuff, and you don't, because you just have to plan with the road teams coming to bring their opposite color. But you could definitely sort it out. And some of those colors you could do dark and dark because they'll set each other apart enough. You're not going to screw up who your teammate is.
No, I agree.
No, anyone who's played beer league hockey can figure those out pretty quickly.
Right. Half the time, I don't know where my passes are going anyway, Tom. So it's just, I hope my guy gets it kind of thing. But any final thoughts before we got here? I know you've had a busy evening with other meetings and stuff. Don't want to keep you too late there on the East Coast.
No, you know what? As much as I'm interested in what the Bruins are doing with their jerseys, I'm much more worried about what they're going to do with the team on the ice this year because they need a lot of help.
Well, and tomorrow, do you guys have many picks in the first round? I haven't really looked to see who's where.
Yeah, I guess that's the one thing when you have a big sell-off like we did. We do have some draft picks, and what makes a lot of the longtime fans a little bit nervous is the person doing the drafting has been doing the drafting for a while now, and he hasn't had it for a whole heck of a lot of success. So, we're trusting that same person to do something different this time, right? Isn't that the definition of insanity?
Very much so. And are you excited that Chara got the invite to the Hockey Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I had a really good feeling that both Chara and Jumbo Joe would get in on their first ballot, and both of them deserve to be in. You look at Chara; he's checked off all the boxes.
Yep.
Number of games, Norris trophies, all-star selections, team captain, and of course winning the cup. Yep. I was really happy for him. Well deserved. I'll be curious to see. There's a good number of folks that were first year eligible this year that didn't get in. Yeah. So I am curious to see who from that list eventually gets in.
I was glad to see Alexander McGillney finally get in.
Long overdue. Long overdue.
Like to see Keith Tkachuk get in. I think that's one of I think that he's becoming quickly on that list of guys that should be in that they're missing. I hope they set that straight sooner than later.
Between that one and Curtis Joseph's the other big one, and even not just Blues fans saying that. Cujo being the other big one that's not.
Yeah, those guys are two guys that definitely should be are Hall of Fame capable guys. So
yeah, I look at Cujo and then I also look at Andy Moog.
Yeah,
another goalie that belongs in the Hall of Fame. You can look at his record. Edmonton wins their first cup on his back, not Fear's. Yep. So I'd like to see him get in at some point as well.
And it seems just goalies take forever to get in, and I don't understand why. Because if you didn't have him in there, you're not getting your cups. You're not getting some of the other team records and things. So I don't get that.
Yeah, well, if you look at the Bruins, they've never even retired a goalie's number. It's just a disrespect thing for goalies, I guess.
Right. Yeah, we do all the work, and you guys just skate around. We have to stand in one spot and move. Yeah. We don't get to sitting on the bench and drinking water and laughing like the rest of the team.
No, it's crazy.
Wade, any final thoughts from you, sir?
No, I mean, a great show. Thanks for coming on. The only other thing I had was, and I don't think we talked about it, was Classic did close. Was it earlier this week? Yesterday, was it?
Tuesday,
yeah, Tuesday.
I was going to hit a couple highlights there. I know there was a Bobby Orr jersey that sold for, with I think with the juice, a little over 200.
Wow.
I kind of clicked on a couple of that kind of stuff. Messier 8182 for 66 grand, which I thought that's a pretty cheap price for that jersey, just considering, the company's in. 38 grand for a 38 grand for a Brian Leach, a Yager for 27 and change, which is pretty cool. One of the bigger ones I thought was Phil Kessel for a finals jersey, 16.9.
Wow.
Some good stuff in there. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed and always enjoy seeing what the big stuff sells for in those kind of auctions.
And you had, even just talking about Boston, you had some Adam Oates from his collection in there.
Yeah,
the
I was just
94,
getting to those.
95.
They actually sold for the exact same price. Or well, one of the Oates sold for 52.51 for his 94.95. His All-Star jersey 4,700. I was trying to find the other one.
The other one was 39.44 for the 96, 97.
Yeah. Another one of your Boston guys, Mark Recchi's Pittsburgh jersey for almost $4 grand. So some fun stuff in there.
That's pretty cheap for a Recchi jersey, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say. I wonder who got that one.
I'll have to ask George if you see him.
You know who I was. That's what I was getting at. So, and then the most expensive Blues jersey in there was a Paul Kariya 1011, which was a really light use jersey. Which most of his jerseys are light use, and I think he wore a lot of jerseys. That one sold for $29.63. So whoever outbid me on that, congratulations.
Hey, it's a Hall of Famer, so that's pretty cheap for a Hall of Fame sweater.
It was. You know what? I hate to say that there hadn't been so much stuff going on, and again, the Migrate show and a couple other things. I probably would have went a little hotter on that, but whoever got it got a really value price on it, because his jerseys usually sell for more than that. So that was a good value buy to whoever the winner was.
Yeah, I had the Oates All-Star in my basket until extended bidding, so somebody got me.
That always gets a lot. You could have bought this. This sold super cheap. Kind of a funny, again, we talk about how players want certain things customized or whatever. It sold for $523.20. It's a 96-97 Pooh Bear from the Oates collection. It was incorrectly sized.
Really?
The 54R size tag was in it, but it's actually crossed out, has a 2 written next to it. Like the size was wrong, and it doesn't have his customization, but the team gave it to him. The A was also missing. But they customized it, realized it didn't fit, so they just gave it to him.
Yeah, probably snapped off the A off of it and put it on whichever one he wore.
Actually, it said by the thing, it was never applied.
Really? That's interesting.
Right out of Oates collection. Just kind of something different and interesting.
Yeah,
but they sized the jersey wrong.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's another good value one if you're trying to get something that he touched. So
yeah.
But fun show, guys. Thanks for coming on. Frosty, is always pleasure to see you. And
always a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Absolutely.
We got some big things hopefully in the works, trying to sort out all those for next Thursday with episode 100. Holy cow. We're flying through things.
It's insane.
But hey, you know what? We enjoy doing this every week, and as long as there's stuff to talk about every week, we'll do a show. And I mean, hey, the teams keep doing stuff or making changes or whatnot. We will cover it. Give us a like, subscribe, follow, all of those things. Keep sharing with your friends. If you want to come on, if you've got topics you want us to cover, things like that, definitely shoot us messages, and we will make those things happen. And we will see you guys back next time.